Mike Williams, what is going on with him? Last week, didn't get many snaps, only had one catch, 15 yards. Overall, since we traded for him, it's been of a disappointment. Like, it's tough because our offense has been doing good. Like, there have been times where Mike Williams isn't even getting on the field, but the offense is going off. Like that Bengals game, we put up 40-plus points. So I ain't stressing about it like that. But when you have a guy like Pickens who's been out these last couple games, you'd like to see the guy that we traded for to be, in a way, Pickens' replacement if he was injured, to actually get snaps, to actually get fed the ball, and actually have impact on the offense. Now, he did. Now, let's not have too short of a memory here, because in the Browns game, Mike Williams played good. Mike Williams did have an impact on the offense. I think there was a play or two where he got a penalty, and that took some of his production off the stat sheet, but he ended up with like 40-something receiving yards. And if it wasn't for the penalty, like he got called for a push-off or two, if it wasn't for that, he would have ended up with like 60 or 70 yards. But last week, different story. Now, I think part of the story for last week was just that we really didn't get the ball that much on offense. Unfortunately, the Eagles dominated the time of possession, 40 minutes to our 20. So that was part of it. But sometimes I think, too, like if we have a game plan, if we have a certain focus in mind and what our formations are going to be and what personnel is going to be on the field, we kind of stick to it. And like having Skoranek out there, having like Van Jefferson out there must be something that Arthur Smith likes, and having those dudes out there and how they could impact the run game and how they could impact the offense as a whole. But those dudes don't have the talent that Mike Williams does. Is Mike Williams that bad of a blocker? I don't think. Now, we know Skoranek, that's kind of his claim to fame right now, but it's not like Mike Williams ain't that out there being a unwilling blocker or anything. So Jerry Dulac has kind of like his theory on it. He says anybody who thought Mike Williams was going to come in and be a legitimate number 2 receiver, it's just not the case. He played only 18 snaps against the Eagles. If he's accurately and truly replacing George Pickens, other than just being a body, he would have played more snaps. A non-factor in the game, obviously. Now, part of it, too, is that I don't think we were necessarily looking for Mike Williams to be the bona fide number 2 receiver, at least right away. Maybe at this point, yeah, we'd be looking for that, because this is how many weeks in to Mike Williams' tenure here in Pittsburgh? You'd think he'd be acclimated enough with the playbook, the offense, and build enough chemistry with Russell Wilson where he is the number 2, given that he was a top 10 pick way back in the day. He's a multi-time 1,000-yard receiver. I know he's up there in age, but it doesn't seem like he's washed or isn't capable, that the game has passed him by. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal has been, really. Maybe I think part of it is just going back to what I said about once we have an idea about what the game plan is offensively, once we have an idea and how we want to lay that out, I think in a way we just stick with it. Like, this is our best way to win this game, and if that involves Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, and Skoranek being out there more, then we're going to roll with that. And again, in the second half, maybe it's a different story in the second half, because we were down a little bit, and if we would have got the ball more, we would have been chucking it up more. Mike Williams maybe would have been out there more. But, yeah, Najee fumbled. Eagles had a massively long drive, go up 2 scores. We get the ball back, and we end up punting on 4th and 7. And then the Eagles waste the last 10 minutes of the clock and the game. So maybe Mike Williams is on the field more at that point, because I'm guessing – if we get it a couple more times in the second half, Russ is out there in shotgun. He has to wheel and deal. He has to take more chances down the field. But it has been weird. It definitely has been weird. Going back to what I said about the expectations for Mike Williams and being the number 2 receiver right away, I didn't have that. I didn't think that. I thought, worst case scenario, you're bringing him in and he's going to provide you good depth. But right away, I don't know what that acclimation period is going to be. As long as Russ has been playing like he's been playing, then he can make it work with a multitude of receivers. But the point that Dulac's bringing up that I think I have to agree with here is we did bring in Mike Williams if Pickens got hurt to be like that outside guy, to be that steadying guy out there that pretty much plays snap in and snap out. Be the Pickens replacement, be the guy that will draw attention to the outside so it can open things more up for the middle of the field and for the running game. But if he ain't out there, it's tough for him to do that. It's not like we're cutting Mike Williams. It's not like we're going to be doing anything drastic. But again, it would be nice to see him more out on the field. And maybe that'll be the case this week against the Ravens, depending on what happens with Pickens and if Pickens plays, which takes us to my Steelers injury updates for week 16. It looks like TJ Watt is expected to play. He was, I think, let me double check this. He was a participant in practice today, limited, but he was DNP yesterday, but was doing a lot of individual work. And you got this headline coming from Kimberly Martin saying that TJ Watt is expected to play. And knowing TJ Watt and the injury he suffered being only a low ankle sprain, I would agree. I do think TJ Watt is going to be out there, given the stakes of this game too. It is for the division. I don't think I was going to say I don't think TJ Watt has played in a type of game like this, but he has. That was the COVID year though. So TJ Watt hasn't played a home playoff game, like a legit home playoff game in front of the fans like you're supposed to as a Steeler player. So I could see him being really amped up for this one and making sure that he's out there. And it's the Ravens. Yeah, he's in the hunt for the decoy. He's going to want to solidify that even more. We know TJ Watt's a team guy and stuff, but we know he likes winning that decoy award. He gets mad whenever he does it. He's the front runner. He's the odds-on favorite. So having a big game against Lamar and this Ravens offense could only help him solidify that even more. He's going to play. He's just going to play. I wouldn't mind if he didn't play because, as I've said the last couple of shows, I think health is more important than anything going into the playoffs, than seeding, than, home field advantage. I would rather be fully healthy with my stars than have a good seed and not have a guy like Pickens or TJ Watt out there. But with it being a low ankle sprain, I don't really think that's something that you're making worse like that. It's just, can you deal with the pain? Can you manage the pain? And TJ Watt will be able to handle that. Now with Pickens, now with Deshaun Elliott, with Larry Ogunjobi, them dealing with soft tissue injuries, that's a different story. I think you do run the risk of making it worse by being out there, especially if it's not fully healed. And I don't really think Pickens is fully healed yet, because if you're getting the headline that says Steelers giving George Pickens a chance to play versus the Ravens, then there's still something going on with his hammy. And then you got Deshaun Elliott. He was DNP on Tuesday. He was DNP again today in practice. Dante Jackson, I don't know what's going on with him. He suffered that injury in the Eagles game, but he's DNP for these first 2 days of the week for practice with a back injury. Ogunjobi, I guess he's trending more towards playing. Limited practice Tuesday, limited practice today. And I feel like Ogunjobi, compared to Deshaun Elliott or George Pickens, doesn't have to, just with the position that he plays and how much like fast twitch stuff or agile stuff that he's got to do, he doesn't have to worry about re-injuring it as much to the degree of a Deshaun Elliott or George Pickens, where, they're asked to do a lot more with their bodies in terms of like the speed and just the different type of movements and the fast twitch stuff that they got to do compared to Ogunjobi. Ogunjobi could probably just be effective by being 80% out there, with the big body that he is and just the amount of skill that he has. But you're not doing the same type of movements and the crazy range of motion that you are at receiver or at the safety position. So, I would say TJ Watt trending towards playing. Larry Ogunjobi trending towards playing. Pickens DNP these last 2 days as well. But he's been doing individual work. I think Elliott's been doing individual work too. They're probably just going to be 50-50. I would guess their game time decision. I'm not opposed to them not playing, though. I'm really not. What are you guys saying in the chat here? Let me read some of your comments, and we'll get to this Steelers-Ravens preview. Don't have to get crazy in depth with it because we just played them about a month ago. Not much has changed when you're talking about previewing that matchup. ACDC says, we need TJ and Elliott. Also need Jackson because Pierre ain't going to cut it. We do need Jackson, but it doesn't sound good for him if he's DMP these first 2 days. Typically, I don't know what the deal has been with Jackson this year. Like, he has left, at least 2 or 3 games, middle of the game with an injury, and it looks bad. And then all of a sudden, he's practicing again, and it's like the injury didn't even happen, and he plays next week. That's why I'm a little bit more concerned with his status for this week 16 because he's DNP these first 2 days. It seems like every time he suffered an injury, left the game, he's been back practicing at least in a limited capacity right off the bat. So we do. I agree with your comment here. We do need him. James Pierre is our CB2. Not feeling as good about it. Luckily, we're not going up against as good of a receiving core as we did last week with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Ravens have Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. They're good, but they're no A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And then obviously they traded for Deontay Johnson. He's not even meeting with them during the week. He's not even a part of team activities. Basically, he's done. He's not a Raven anymore. So the guy that they brought in, who is a quality player, and Deontay, with that Panthers trade, who's supposed to be at least their number 3, he ain't even playing like that. He ain't even part of the Ravens organization anymore, really. ACDC says, injuries are the biggest issue that could hold us back. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Because there's no reason why we can't beat any team in this league outside of us not having our star players out there. Any given Sunday, like we could beat that Eagles team. We were down 1 score in the second half in their zone. Without Deshaun Elliott, without Pickens, without Ogunjobi, without Dante Jackson. But Najee fumbled. So, like, you mean to tell me on another Sunday where we have our players, we don't stand a chance?